this exam session. At the beginning, allow me to introduce my colleagues in the studio. Ms. Ula Al-Muai, English Language Supervisor, Tartus Directorate.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ms. Maha Al-Jarkas, English Language Teacher, Damascus Directorate.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Ms. Nisreen Saqbani, English Language Teacher, Damascus Directorate.
Nice morning.
Good morning all. Good morning, dear students. We hope that you are doing well until now in your exams. Tomorrow you have the English exam. We thought it would be a good idea to start with the exam book to show you what you are going to see tomorrow. It is the first time you see the English exam book. It's similar to the other exam books, but the difference is the English one is numbered, as you can see on the screen. Ms. Ula Al-Muai is going to start giving you advice and to tell you a little bit about it, and the others are going to do the same.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
As for this exam book, it's almost the same as the other subjects at the top. They have to write their name, they have to be neat, and they have to pay attention to the names and numbers. Now at the middle or the bottom of the page, they can see that we have numbers. So each question has a number. They have to stick to the number to write the correct answer and match it to the correct number. But if they're not sure about the answer, they have to write it on the draft, for example, and make sure that they write the correct answer without scratching or to use the space in a good way. So they have to see the numbers. They have to pay attention to write the correct number next to the question or the answer.
Okay. If a student wrote something wrong and needed to delete it, he can write it on another place, but to put a hint, to mention that the answer to this question
and write the
is
correct number of the question.
Can we go down to see the whole exam book, Ms. Samahir?
Of course, there is a space, specific space for the composition.
Yes. So here we have where they should write, and there is a place they mustn't write there because it is for the correction. And we have a draft, and we have a place to put the examples. Go down, please, Ms. Samahir.
Yes, sometimes some of the students write under number 35, the composition. So be careful to write it under the title composition.
There's a separate page,
Yes,
separate page for the
page.
composition.
The composition is going to be on the last page.
Yes, also
Well,
here.
yes, this is the post of the composition.
Yes.
They can write it here, and they can write it first on a draft page, then they can copy it to this page. So this is the page specified for the composition.
There is another important idea. Sometimes some of the questions, there is a choices A, B, C. So the students could write only the letter A next to the number. They don't have to write the whole answer or the whole sentence.
They have the choice to write either the letter of
Yes.
the answer or the word or both.
Or both of them.
It's
Yes.
okay. If they want to save time, they can just write the answer, the letter correspondent to the answer.
Yes, right.
Do you have anything to say before we
Yes,
start?
I want the students to make sure that they copy all the answers that they write on the draft beside the correct number, and make sure that you have copied it. Then I want to add something that you have to write your name, your mother's name, your number, and the subject in Arabic, not in English.
Yes, in Arabic. Of
Although
course.
it's English. Yeah.
The name and information under the name should be in Arabic. Yes, thank you so much. Now, we're going to start with the grammar they have in the 9th grade book.
We have a question from TIBA 2005. What is the difference between the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous?
We're going to talk about it step by step. Ms. Ula, will you start, please?
First, we're going to start with the tenses. To start with past and present. The tenses used with the 9th grade, they start with the present simple. When we talk about the present simple, we talk about routines and habits. Like, they always go skiing in winter. They always, this is a habit or routine, they always go skiing in winter. When they have to use past simple, they have to pay attention that we are talking about finished events in the past. Like, he moved to Canada when he was 5. It's finished and it's in the past, so we use he moved. Present continuous and past continuous, when we talk about something that is in progress, it can be in progress in the past or in progress in the present, but it has to be in progress. I'm studying for my exams this week, so the whole week I'm busy studying for the exam. This is progress. The last time I heard from her, she was working in Damascus, so I heard from her she was working. This we can call it as an interruption. She was working, and while she was working, I heard about it.
Thank you so much. Next slide, Ms. Maher, please. Ms. Maha.
Yes, the present perfect, simple, and continuous.
This is for Tiba.
Yes, this is for Tiba especially. Yes. First, we use the present perfect to talk about actions and situations that started in the past and continue up to the present. We use for and since with the present perfect simple. For is used with a period of time or time expressions, and since is used with a specific date or time expression. We have examples. I've lived here for 14 years. Here 14 years is a period of time and for most of my life. I've done gymnastics since I was a child or since 1989. The present perfect continuous is used to talk about actions that were in progress at a time in the past and are continuing in the present or have just recently finished. Why are you crying? I've just been watching a sad film. I've been looking after my neighbor's son all afternoon.
Let me say something to Tiba. The present perfect talks about something finished,
Yes.
while the present perfect continuous talks about something started in the past, continued without stop till the present, and may continue in the future. When we use since and for, both tenses are the same. With since and for, we can use both with the same function, with the same meaning. Yes.
But with the present perfect simple, we use state verb and action verb.
Yes.
But in present perfect continuous, we only use action verb. We can't use, so we can't use I have been knowing my friend for 10 years.
Yes.
It's
Thank you so much.
incorrect. Yes.
Actually, you are absolutely right. We cannot use state verbs with any continuous tense.
Yes,
Not
that's
only in the present
the
perfect
rule.
continuous.
Yes, that's general rule.
The next slide, Ms. Maher, please.
Yes.
Ms. Nasreen.
We have many usage for the present perfect, and the most important one of them is the use of just, already, yet. We use the present
In this
perfect.
case, with just,
indicators.
already, and yet, it means it is finished, and we cannot use the continuous.
Yes, just, already, yet only used with the present perfect. We use them with just to say that something has been completed very recently. Like, I've just finished reading this book. So it is finished.
Maybe before a minute.
Yes. The second point, we use the present perfect with already to say that something has been completed. I have already read this book.
Read.
I have read this book already. We can put already between have and the verb, or at the end of the
So the position,
sentence.
the
position of already is not like just.
is movable. Just always comes after have.
After have. The third point is we use the present perfect with yet to say that something hasn't been completed by the time of speaking. So we use it with the negative form. I haven't read it yet, but I will read it soon.
Actually, it is used with the negative and
And
with
the question.
questions.
Yes.
Next slide, Ms. Maher, please. Ms. Ula.
Okay, now about the difference between the present perfect and past simple.
Past
Many students get confused when do they have to use this one and when do they have to use the other one. So one specific point is that the difference between present perfect past simple is the mentioning of time. With the present perfect, we have no specific time mentioned. So something happened in the past, but we don't know when. So this time we use the present perfect. I've cut my finger. When have you got your finger? We have no idea. There's no specific time. So have you been to the dentist during the last 6 months? So the last 6 months, it's a long time, no specific time. So when there is no specific time, this is a present perfect. When we have a specific time, we use the simple past. I broke my leg 2 years ago. This is specific, ago, 2 years ago. I went to the dentist last week. Again, when specific, we use the simple past.
So we mean by specific time, like when we use ago,
Ago,
last
yesterday.
time,
Indicators.
yesterday. We have past event indicators. Thank you. Next slide, Ms. Samaher. Ms. Maha?
Yes, the past perfect. It's used to describe something that happened in the past, and it's also used to describe something that happened before that time. We have example, I had already cooked the dinner by the time my mother came home. When we arrived at the theater, the concert had already started. Had already started is the past perfect.
Perfect, yes. So when we have two actions and they are actually both simple.
Yes.
But to show which one happened first, we put the one that happened first in the past perfect and the one that happened after it in the simple past. Next slide, Ms. Samaher.
Yes.
Ms. Nasreen.
Yes, we usually, to mention the future, we use will or going to. So we use will to predict the future when we think something will happen. Like
Yeah.
everyone,
It depends on your mind.
yes,
not on
everyone will
something
have
you
a
see.
plan in the future. So we are predicting. We use will for action that we decide now. At the moment of speaking, I will make some tea, I will answer the telephone, I will open the door. Actually, we also use going to predict the future, but when we see something that makes you predict, like when we see the evidence,
Yes.
this is
We
the
have
point we have to
Thank you. Yes.
be careful about it. And now we use going to for actions that we have decided before, not now, like will. We say, I'm not going to watch TV tonight. So I decided this before. I'm going to read a book.
Plan. This is a plan, we
Yes.
can say.
It's a plan, yes. Another idea we have in Unit 7, I think, that to make suggestion and offers, we usually use shall I or I'll to make suggestion. Like, shall I give you a lift to the station, or I'll help you. In this way, I am using will not for predicting, it is for offering help.
Thank you. The meaning of a lift here, it means that I can take you in my car.
Yes.
Give you a lift, it means I can take you in my car. Next slide, Ms. Samaher, please. Ms. Saula,
Now with the conditional sentences. With the 9th grade, we have the first conditional and the second conditional. To start with the first conditional, they have to pay attention that we have if and we have will or would. They have to pay attention that they are not within the same side. So they can't use if with will in the same side, if you will or if you would. They have to pay attention to that. So with the with the first conditional, if with the present simple, the second part will be will or want for things that will possibly happen. So present simple, will or want. Like, if the tickets are too expensive, this is present simple, we won't be able to go, simple future. If we have time, we'll go and see the counselor. So we can put the if part or will part of the sentence first, like if he doesn't feel well, he won't, or the opposite way. He won't go to school if he doesn't feel well. The difference will be with the comma. If we start with the if, we use a comma. If we don't start with if, we don't need a comma.
Yes.
Yes.
Next slide, Ms. Samaher. Ms. Maha, your turn.
Yes, we are still with the conditional sentences, but the second conditional. We use the past simple with would or wouldn't for imaginary situations.
Not real.
Not real situations, yes. If you told me a secret, I wouldn't tell anyone. Told here is the verb that is in the simple past. I wouldn't tell. Wouldn't is a modal, so tell must be in the infinitive.
This is a perfect example because it is unreal.
Yes.
If you told me a secret, I will.
If
you
I
tell me
wanted,
a secret, I will spread it.
Thank you so much.
I can trust you.
Yeah, okay.
If I wanted to get fit, I would do regular exercise. Of course, we can put the if part or the would part of the sentence first. If I get some money, if I got, some money for my birthday, I would save up for a new CD player, or I would save up for a new CD player if I got some money for my birthday. And we usually put a comma after the if part of the sentence. And as Ms. Ola said, the comma is used after when if is in the first part, not in the second part.
Yes, the if clause. Thank you. Following slide, Ms. Samaha. Ms. Nisreen.
So we are still in the conditional sentence, the second conditional. Sometimes we use to express the imaginary situation, we use if I were, to imagine what you would do if you were in someone else's place.
Giving
Or-
advice, for example.
Yes.
Yeah, usually
Or
we use
if
if
your
I were you
situation
to
was-
give an advice, yes.
To give an advice, yes. If I were you, I'd apologize to the teacher for being so impolite. Here, the situation is imaginary because I am not you. Another example, if I were rich, I would buy my parents a new car, but I am not.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking here about the past. I'm only imagining something, but I am in
Unreal,
the
it's
present,
unreal.
Yes.
past. And the important idea is that we use were with I. Pay attention to this point. But if we say
So the
if
difference,
I was,
yes, it's okay. With difference between the first and the second, the first is something real in
Yes.
the present. The second conditional is in the present as well, but to talk about something unreal.
present or
untrue.
future.
Yeah, yes, present or future, both are present or future, but the difference is the first one is true, real.
Yes.
The second type is unreal in the present or future. For the students, what they need to know that when if is followed with the simple present tense, the
Choose.
second part is will.
Will.
When it is simple
Simple
past,
past,
the
would.
second part should be would. That is what they need for tomorrow, the exam.
Yes.
Of course, we are not going to say it the way that if you see this, do that.
Yes.
But since we are helping them for tomorrow's exam,
For the exam,
it's not
it's
a
an
problem
idea
to
of
tell them
choosing.
this. Ms. Ula, passive voice.
Now about the passive voice. When do we use the passive voice? We use the present passive to talk about processes and facts. So when we have processes and facts, it means the subject or the doer of the action is not important. So this way
is
we
one
use
way.
the passive voice. The second one, use it when the focus is on the action, not on who does it.
Yes.
Okay. Now about the form, it's not really mentioned here. We use verb to be and past participle, the third form of the verb. Verb to be, past participle, like this one. Every year, new technology is developed to warn people about possible disasters. Is developed. So verb to be is and developed past participle.
Yes.
Walls are being built to prevent the sea from flooding the village. Now, are being built, this is present continuous in the passive. Are being built, verb to be and past participle.
yes.
When we use can to talk about possibility, after can, of course, we use the infinitive form or the base form. So storms can be predicted. Storms can be
satellites.
predicted. This is passive voice. Again, verb to be, past participle. When it is important to see who did it, if we have to mention who did the action, we use by.
At the end.
There has been an earthquake. People are being rescued by helicopters. Again, verb to be, past participle. And when we have to use the who did the action, we use by helicopter. So what rescued the people? A helicopter.
Yes.
Thank you. And I want to say something to the students. When you are not sure to put the agent preceded with by or not to put it, it is better. Because if you put it and it is not necessary, you are not going to lose marks. But if it was necessary to be put and you didn't put it, you will lose marks. So when you are not sure, put it at the end, preceded with by.
Yes.
Following slide.
There's a question about if I were or if I was.
Both
we
are
have just
accepted.
mentioned it. Both are accepted.
We can use was and were with conditional sentences. Ms. Maha,
Yes.
reported speech.
Report speech. When we have reported speech, it means that it's not direct anymore. So when we report what someone said, we use said or told. And we, of course, change the verbs. The present simple becomes past simple. For example, Fatima says, I want to go skiing this winter. When we reported, we write, Fatima said that, and here that is in brackets, so it means it's optional. It can be added or not. She wanted to go skiing that winter. Wanted is in the past, and in the direct speech, it was want in the present.
Why did we change this to that?
This time reference,
So everything near
becomes
far.
Yes.
This becomes that, yes.
Yes. Present continuous becomes past continuous. Ali, we are having a picnic on Friday. Ali said that they were having a picnic on Friday. Of course, we can't forget to change the pronouns. I becomes he or she, and we becomes they.
Thank you. The following slide, Ms. Samaher, Ms. Nisreen.
Yes, as we said, in reported speech, we use said or told. So we use them to report what someone said to someone else.
Told, just let me say something. Told needs an object.
Yes.
Said doesn't need an object.
I will mention that.
Yes.
Like in this example, Samira said, Ali, I am sorry about what happened. This is the
original one.
The original one. So in reported speech, when we use told, we have to put the object. So we said Samira told Ali, or Samira told him, maybe, that she was, we make the tense different from the present to the past, was sorry about what had happened. Or we can say Samira said, we mean to Ali, but we don't mention to Ali. Samira said that she was sorry about what had happened.
So the simple past becomes past perfect.
Yes.
What happened becomes what had happened. The following slide, Ms. Samaher, please. Used to and would.
We have a question about used to and would by Katia, I think.
Yes.
By Katia and
Okay. Now, all the questions are things we are going to discuss. About grammars we are going to discuss. Okay.
And we're going to help them how to do well in the exam about
Hopefully.
when they receive this.
Okay. Now, the difference between used to and would, both of them talk about repeated actions or habits in the past.
Yes.
But not anymore.
Sorry?
The habit stopped.
Okay, stopped, of course. They were repeated in the past, but not anymore. So the difference is that we used to and didn't used to with the infinitive to talk about states or not states.
Yes.
Used to can be
Both
both with
active
all,
and state verbs.
exactly, with all verbs. Used to can be used with all kinds of verbs in the past. I used to want to be a doctor, but now I want to be a teacher. We used to go on holiday every summer. So go is active verb and want is a state verb. We can use to with all verbs. Now about would. Would can only be used with not state verbs. We use it with the infinitive as well and about repeated actions in the past, but not state verbs. Every afternoon, my friends and I would talk.
Yes.
Talk for hours on the phone. Talk is active, action. After dinner, grandfather would sit and tell us all stories from long ago. So with would, we can use habits. We can't use actions. Yes, we can use actions and habits repeated in the past. Sorry, confused.
And to satisfy the students, to comfort them, they are not going to see a question in the exam to choose between would or used to. They are going to see used to with something not accepted. So it's very easy. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. It will be very simple. The meaning is the same. And in the exam, the question will be so easy.
So
we have a continuity
I can
of the question. You
add
said
an idea about, I advise the student to revise the state verb and the action verb before they study used to and would. This is the main idea.
And unfortunately for this year's students, the next year, students for next year, they're not going to see would
Yes.
at all in the new books.
It's good news.
The same asker, what was her name, Katia, she said difference between was
A lot
able
and
to
we're going to talk
and
about
could.
that.
Yes, okay. The next slide, Ms. Samaher.
Actually, they are confusing some.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and
I
following
think
year
in the-
students will not
Because
see
we
was
know
able
that
to,
they are
only could. It is
confusing.
the same.
But they can relax. In the exam, things are not going to be confusing.
Yes, it is very
It's going to
clear.
be clear and obvious.
Yes, they are not going to choose between was able to and could.
Yeah.
The difference, I can say it quickly, was able to is for a specific position, specific
Situation.
situation. Could is for general ability.
Abilities in the past.
But they are the same in the meaning in the end. That's why in the following year, students will not see was able to, so that they are not going to be confused.
Yeah.
But for this year, they are going to take it like they took it in the book, but the question is not going
It's
to
very
be
clear.
difficult.
Yes.
It's going to be very easy and very clear. Whose turn?
Yes.
Miss Maha?
Here we have a drill. Choose the correct tense. 1. He takes or took my new football to the park yesterday. Here we have a time reference, which is yesterday, which means the action is finished. So we can't use takes.
Yes.
We use took, which
So
is the past of
yesterday
take.
helps the student to know that it is took, not takes.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Number 2, me.
Yes, okay.
We are learning or had learned about ancient Greece this year. This
Yes.
year is the time reference, so we use are
Learning.
learning. 3, I play or was playing volleyball every Saturday. Here we have every Saturday, which means that it's a habit. It's something that is repeated over a long period of time, so we use I play. 4, Nasser is riding or was riding his bike when he fell off. We have when he fell, which is a past action. So
Yes.
we use was riding, not is riding. 5, I didn't always use or used to live in Canada. You know, we have didn't. And after didn't, we need to use the infinitive, which is use. 6, Abla said she is making or was making a cup of tea. The sentence started with said, so it's reported. And in the reported speech, we need to use the past. And here we have is making, was making. Was making is the correct answer. 7, Abbas finishes or hasn't finished his math homework yet, as long as we have yet. So we use hasn't finished. Number 8, a tourist stopped to ask me for directions. He has lost or had lost his map.
Something
Here-
happened first.
Tamam, something happened first, so we use had lost. Number 9, if I were you, I won't or I wouldn't come home too late. We have were you, so we use wouldn't. Number 10, if you get hungry, snacks can bought or be bought at the shop. This is passive voice.
Yes.
So can be bought.
Yes, can be both. Thank you so much. The following
I'll
slide,
get the full mark.
full mark. Miss Nasreen couldn't
Yes.
be able to. This is again Katya's question
Yes.
in detail.
Could is the past of model can, and we use could to describe general possibility or ability in the past. Like, I could answer all the question in the test. Here is could express ability. I couldn't go to the concert because I didn't have a ticket. Here it expressed possibility. But we don't usually use could for something that happened on a particular occasion.
A particular occasion.
In this case, we use was or were able to. Like, the horse was going too fast, but in the end, the rider was able to control it.
In this situation, yes.
Yes,
Thank
in this situation, because it is a particular situation, so we use able to, be able to.
Thank you. Miss Ula, next slide, please, Miss Samaha.
Okay, so with couldn't, she has just said something about it. With able to, was able to, were able to, or wasn't, weren't. When someone is or is not in a position to do something, we use were or was able to, or was or weren't able to. Like after my father broke his leg, he wasn't able to drive for 2 months, so he's not in the position of driving.
Yes. Actually, for the students, they are not going to choose between wasn't able to or could, because both are accepted. In the exam, they are going to see one of them. This was grammar for general in the book. In the exam, the question will be specific, and they are not going to be confused. We comfort them. Relax. It's going to be okay for you. We are just here to help you to be facilitators.
Revise the book with them.
Yes, the next slide, Ms. Samar, please. Whose turn?
Yes.
Ms. Samar.
Have to, must, and should. Have to is used to express a strong obligation when the obligation comes from someone else. We have to wear a uniform to school. We're not who decided to wear the uniform to school. Someone else has decided for us.
So either an order by someone else or public rule.
Yes.
Public rule, yes.
Use must to express strong obligation when the obligation comes from you or from someone who has authority.
Yes.
I must go home. My mother is waiting for me. A doctor to his patient, you must stay in bed for a week. This is from someone who has an authority.
Authority, yes.
And should is used to express mild obligation, which is not a strong obligation, or to give an advice. You should go.
Actually, here it should be a piece of advice because advice is uncountable.
Yes.
We need to mention it. It happened by mistake. It's no problem. Advice is uncountable noun, and
Yes, to give
either you say
advice.
to give advice or a piece of advice.
You should go and see him soon. You can or you cannot.
Yes.
It's up to you.
The next slide, Ms. Samaher. Miss Nasreen,
Yes.
too many, too few, too much, enough.
Enough
And
are
this is Mulham's pro question. What is the difference between a lot of and many? And what is the difference between much and many?
Yeah, we're going to talk about them. Actually, just before you say something, I want to say that
Yes.
to is used to say that something is more than
Negative.
okay.
very.
Very.
But
Yes.
in a negative way.
In
it's
negative
not-
But
way,
in
yes, it's
negatively,
negative.
yes. Too many and too few and too much enough, all these are quantity words.
Yes.
We use them before nouns. And you know that we have countable nouns and uncountable nouns. For countable, we use too many or too few, like there are too many cars on the road. Too few people use bicycles or walk. So people is uncountable noun. That is why we use too few. And cars, because it is
People is
countable.
countable. People is
countable,
countable,
sorry.
and cars
And
is countable.
yes, we use both of them. Sorry.
Yes.
For uncountable nouns, we use too much. Like there is too much pollution in cities these days.
Pollution is uncountable.
So we use
That's
too
why we
much,
use too much.
and we use also there is with the uncountable
verb is
noun.
The
singular.
verb is singular. Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
And as for more or enough before the noun, to describe the quantity, as we said, or numbers, we say we don't need more roads. We have got enough roads.
Yes.
Yes. And we use to plus adjective. We take them in the book in contrast between to plus adjective to give a negative meaning.
Yes.
And we can express the same meaning but with adjective plus enough.
Yes.
Like this example. The pavements are too narrow. So they aren't wide enough.
They aren't
They
wide
aren't.
enough. Thank you. Thank you. Next slide, Ms. Samaher. Miss Ula, A,
Okay,
and the.
before that, we have, first of all, Wiam is asking about what the paragraphs are. Well, the paragraphs are entitled in the book by writing. When you see writing, this is going to be asked to write a paragraph about, I don't know their name, Trank or Tranks, I'm not sure about the name.
XX1.
Okay, the composition optional, yes, you've got to have two options to
Yes.
choose one. Two options
one.
and choose one.
Actually, the composition should be 50 words. We cannot teach you how to write a composition now because you needed to practice through the year,
Through the
academic year, how to write sentences. When the student can write sentences, he can write a paragraph. Actually, the paragraphs are in the writing part at the end of each lesson. You have a writing part. From the writing part, you can see what is the question, and the composition is going to be from this part in the book.
Yes.
Okay, now the difference between using a, an, and the. To start with the, we have three ways to use it. The first one with a plural noun, like things in general, when we talk about things in general, the teachers, for example,
It's
the whole,
actually used without the.
sorry, without the. Use plural noun without the for talking about things in general. It means when we mean the whole criteria,
Thank
the
you
whole,
for noticing. Yes.
sorry, for the whole criteria, the whole group. of people, the
When
whole
we talk
group
about
of
animals
animals.
in general.
To
Children.
summarize it
cars.
for students, if we are talking specifically, we use the. If we are talking in general, we don't use the.
Like children, animals.
Yes. So in general sense, we don't use the. When we specify, for example, meat is something important. But when I specify, I say the meat we ate yesterday was delicious. So when I specify, I use the. Actually, we have grammar for this. We use the when we have only one noun in the word or in the place, like the sun, the sea. We use it when we mention an indefinite noun for the
For the
second
second
time,
time.
when by reason of
Region.
locality in the place we are sitting in, we have only one of these, like we say the
The door.
board or the door or the teacher.
And for regions or names of countries which consist of two or more.
Yes, names of countries that consist of
The Philippines.
two words or more. But when it is one word, we don't usually use it. We'd say,
Syria.
Like the
The
United
United
Arab
States.
Emirates, for example.
this is a compound noun name of a country, so we use that, like the United Kingdom and the United States, yes.
About A, we use it the first time we mention something. The first time I bought a cat, for example, this is the first time. Use it for one of many. He is a teacher, for example. He's one in many.
Yeah. I'm going to summarize the use of again.
A.
Singular,
Yes.
countable, indefinite nouns. Mentioned for the first time, and we have more than one of the noun. I repeat, singular, countable, indefinite. Indefinite means not known.
Yes.
Singular, countable, indefinite nouns mentioned for the first time, and we have more than one. Because when we have only one, we need to use that. The following slide, Ms. Samahir.
But we don't answer Mulhim about a lot of and many.
Yeah, you can answer, please.
In our book, actually, there is no mentioning for
Yes,
a lot
there
of for
is
the
none.
9th grade, but they are similar.
Very same. A lot of is a little bit more than many.
Yes.
And some grammar books say we use a lot of in the positive and many and much in the negative, but this is not always.
This is not mentioned
Yeah.
in the 9th grade book.
So for tomorrow's exam, don't confuse yourself with things you don't need
yes,
to know, so that you don't get confused.
yes.
There is a question again about composition. If they're going to lose marks, if the words were 49, 47, 45, or it's more than 50.
More than 50, they
So
are not
I-
going to
if-
lose. Less than 50, they may lose. So be strict to make them 50.
One word or two, it's okay, but more than that,
No, they can write 100 words. It's okay, no problem. But the problem is if you write words wrongly
So
and
you
they
will
are
lose
extra, you
mark.
will lose marks for
Yes.
spelling. That's the problem. But you're not going to lose because you put more than needed, but you are going to be
make
judged
mistakes.
for grammar mistakes and spelling mistakes. If you have grammar mistakes in this extra part, you will lose marks. So why to
Yes.
So
to
stick to 50.
take the risk?
Stick to 50.
Yes, 50 is good.
And safe.
Some and any,
Yes.
Miss Maha.
Some and any. Use some to talk about unspecified quantities with countable and uncountable nouns, but the countable nouns must be plural.
Yes, thank you so much for saying it.
There are some very interesting places.
Singular nouns take
A.
in negative question and positive cases.
Yes. Example, there are some very interesting places to visit just outside the city. Let's go into the countryside for some fresh air. Use any to ask or talk about quantities. Have you got any ideas about things to do? There aren't any restaurants in this part of the city.
Yes, so we use any in questions and negatives. We use some in positive cases. Next slide, Miss Samahir. Miss Nisreen, all and many.
All and many. We use all to include every example of the subject. Like, all the houses in this street were built more than 300 years ago. So this is, we are mentioning all the examples. use many to talk about a large but unspecified number of things, like many people moved to the cities from the countryside to work. So we are talking about a large number, but not
Not all.
specific. Not
Not
all
all.
of them. Yes. This
We
is
have
the
we have
difference.
exceptions. The following slide, Miss Samahir, Miss Saouda Al-Mouai.
Now, the difference between which, that, who, or where, when we want to
We
add
come to relative
information,
clauses.
to add information, so we use which or that, who or where, to say exactly what or who we are talking about. Like the man who or that I was talking to is my uncle. Now, I'm telling you the person I'm talking about.
This
So-
is a relative clause.
Yes.
Exactly. Tourist,
And who and that here are called relative pronouns. And this type of relative clause is defining. When it is defining, we can use who for people and that.
That.
We can use that for people and who, but only with defining.
Defining.
Because with non-defining, when we have commas, we cannot
we
use
can't
that.
use that, exactly. Tourists who come to Syria usually go to Palmyra. So tourists who I'm telling you again, the tourists I'm talking about.
People, and we
People.
use to with people.
Exactly. When we need to give extra information about something or someone, we use which for things, who for people. Like,
We cannot use that here.
no, we can't use that. Here we are adding extra information.
And they can know, the students can know that the information is extra
By
because
the
we
commas.
have two inverted commas, and we can leave this extra information without changing.
Here
the
we have to
meaning.
separate the extra information from the rest of the sentence by using commas. Like my uncle who works in a hotel is coming to visit us soon. So I understand my uncle is coming to visit us
Just
soon.
to be clear, we have something extra in the first or the second line. The man who, yes, it's okay. Sorry,
Okay.
it's okay.
Tourists in Syria usually go to Damascus. Okay, we can finish in here, but we can also add information, extra information, which is the capital of city. The capital city.
Which here goes to Damascus.
Exactly. Now we cannot use that in extra information like you have mentioned now, and you cannot leave out who or which. They are essential.
Because sometimes in defining relative clauses, we can leave who or that.
Of course,
It's
these now pronouns can be used as missing words. They have
Yes,
to pay
missing
attention
words,
to that.
multiple choice.
Multiple choice.
The students aren't going to complete sentences.
Exactly.
Yes.
Or in the missing word sometimes.
Yes, she mentioned it.
Yeah, Miss Maha,
Yes.
when, as
When.
soon as, until, before, and after.
These are also these can be used as missing words. Yes. Join sentences with these words or phrases. When, at the time, when something else happens. Can you call me when dinner is ready? As soon as means immediately. As soon as I saw the advertisement, I phoned to book some tickets. Until means up to a point in time. They played football in the park until it got dark. Before, at an earlier time, it's best to get there at 8 a.m. before the crowds of tourists arrive. After is the last word, and it means at a later time. After I had seen the film, I read the book.
Thank you. Just I want to say something about advertisement. In Britain, they say advertisement. In America, they say advertisement. It's no problem. The next slide, please. Question tags with Miss Nisreen.
Yes. The question tag, or what we call the mini question, which we use at the end of the sentences. We use them to ask for information or to check information to make sure that our information is right or not, or to make questions sound more polite only. The main idea here depends on the using of the auxiliary verb. If we have an auxiliary verb, we use it at the end of the sentence.
And we use the same auxiliary verb when we
same
have
auxiliary
it.
verb.
When we don't have it, usually in the simple present
We
or
take
simple
a help
past.
from verb to do according to the tense, do,
Yes.
does, or did. Like, we have two parts
Use
of the
opposite.
example.
If it's
Yes.
positive, we use negative. If it's negative, we use
We
positive.
use the
Exactly.
positive. In positive question, like, you are English, So the negative tag, here we use a negative tag because the main sentence is in the positive. We say, aren't you?
And aren't you is the contracted form. We don't say are not you.
Yes.
Aren't you?
It's not allowed to use.
Yes. In the question tag, it's contracted.
We use it contracted in this way. Another example, you will help me. So here the auxiliary is will in the positive. We put it in the negative, won't you? It's a lovely day. Here the auxiliary is because it is followed by an adjective. So then the tag is, isn't it? The second part of the examples is when the sentence is negative, like
We make it positive.
we make it positive. They didn't do their homework. Here the sentence is in the past and the auxiliary is didn't. So we add did they after the comma. The second one, you couldn't help me with this heavy box.
Actually, sometimes they may see a comma. They start with a small letter. Sometimes they may see full stop. They need to write it in capital after the comma.
Yes. Could you? The last one, he can't drive yet. So the tag is can he? We use the auxiliary, so we depend on the auxiliary and the subject. And we have to use only, we don't
Pronouns.
put noun, only pronouns.
Pronouns, yes. Thank you.
So
much
only
for
pronouns, only contractions.
Yes.
Contractions and pronouns.
Thank you. The next slide, Miss Sabrine. Write the missing word. This is a type of exam question, and we are going to help the students how to do it. Is it your turn?
If you wish.
Yes.
Okay. The ancient pyramids were built by the Egyptians, because we have just said that with the passive voice, if we need to mention who did the action, we use by.
By,
So
yes.
by the Egyptians.
This is passive voice,
passive
yes.
voice. I'll phone you as soon as.
As.
We have just mentioned this one.
Yes.
As soon as I arrive. I'm going to visit my aunt who lives in Homs. Again, who lives in Homs. I was in hospital about 5 weeks ago. This is simple past, and so it's ago. She hasn't drunk her tea yet.
Yes.
Present perfect, yet. To rain. Rain should be used with the it's an uncountable noun, so it should be used with much rather than many. So too much rain will damage the crops. Much, too much. Hama is a city. It's one of many cities. It's a city. It's in the west of Syria. Again, we can use the west. We have to pay attention that we only have one west, so it's the west of Syria.
With
So
directions, we only use them.
the west, the north, the east, etc. Hama is a city, to repeat it. I can't drive a car yet. I'm not old enough. I'm not old enough. I can't drive a car.
Yes.
We have to wear black shoes to school. Have to. These are rules. They always do skiing in winter. With seasons, we use in.
Here in
With
this
days, we use on.
For number 7, I want to say something. If Hama is the only city in the west of Syria, we can say Hama is the city in the west of Syria. If it is the only. But if we have more than one city in the west of Syria, it should be is a city in the west of Syria. Thank you. The next slide, Ms. Sabrine. Ms. Maha.
Yes, making questions.
This is an important part
Yes,
of exam questions for the grade 9 students.
yes. There are two main kinds, yes-no questions and WH questions. The yes-no questions need the answer yes or no. Here we have examples. Do you like chocolate? Yes, I do.
Present simple.
Yes. Is he from India? No, he isn't. This is the answer. Have you been to Japan? No, I haven't.
Have you been to Japan? No, I haven't.
Yes. WH questions need more information in the answer. It uses a question word. Where do you live? I live in Syria. What did she do yesterday? She went to the theater. Where is the station? It's next to the mall.
So the student needs to know the yes-no question way to know how to use WH question.
WH
Because
question.
the difference is we make the sentence when we change a sentence to a question, we need to know how to make the yes/no question.
And
Then we omit the part we want to ask about, and we put instead of it at the beginning a WH word.
exactly.
For example, I have two brothers. The question is, do you have two brothers?
Yes.
We omit two brothers and we put at the beginning how many brothers do you have. We complete with Ms. Nisreen.
Yes. So when we make the WH question, we start usually with the question word. But how can we choose the suitable question word? You have to know that we use who for people when we are asking about people. Who is that? What for things? What did you do last night? What are you doing? Something like that.
Yes.
Which asking for a limited number of items, or to choose, like
Between
which
items.
do you prefer, chicken or rice? Which instrument do you play? Whose we use it to ask for possession. Position. Whose book is this? When asking for the time, when did you wake up? So when we want to ask about, or there is a time expression,
What
we
time?
can use when.
So if it is a specified time,
Specified time,
we
yes.
use when. If it is a period of time, we use how long.
Where, asking for the place, where do you live, where are you from? Why, to ask for a reason, why did you call me? When we find in the answer because, we usually
So the
use
question
why.
word is why.
Yes. How, asking for the manner, how do you turn on this computer? We can use many words after how. Each one of them
Has different way,
has different meaning.
meaning.
Like how long, asking for a period of time. How long have you lived in this city? Especially with the since and for, we usually use how long.
Yes.
How many, asking for an exact amount. How many children have you got? How much, asking for not an exact amount. How
This
much?
is for uncountable, actually.
Uncountable. noun.
Uncountable nouns.
Yes. How much does this car cost?
Here it is for money.
How much? We can mention money or not, because it is clear from the verb cost in this example. And I want to add that always after how many and how much, we put the noun which we are
Exactly. Thank you for
asking
saying it.
about it.
How many children?
How many children? How
And
many
how
brother
much?
and sister?
How much money do you have?
Yes. How often? Asking for a frequency. How often do you go shopping?
Once a week, 3 times a week?
Yes. So it is about, when we talk about habits, we use how often.
Actually, I just want to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. When we mention the noun, it should be immediately after how much or how many. But in our example, how much does it cost?
Because
Here it's clear.
Clear,
Because
So
money.
we didn't
Clear.
mention it. But if we want to mention it, we need to say how much money.
Money.
Thank you, Miss
How much money did you
Ola.
pay, for example?
Yes, no questions.
Okay. Now, with your yes/no questions, again, we have 2 different ways in English grammar to know how to form a question. First of all, we change the position of the verb and the subject. We call it invert. So,
If we have an auxiliary verb, we invert.
in English, we know that we start the sentence with a subject. After that comes the verb. So if we have an auxiliary verb, verb to be, verb to have, we invert. So
Or
what
modals,
comes first?
Or modals.
Modal verb, sorry. And what we start with now is the auxiliary verb or the modal verb. Like, he is from China. Where is he from? We change the position
Actually,
of the...
since it is yes/no questions, he is from China. The yes/no question is he from China? If we want to make it a WH question, we delete China
And
and
we
we
add-
put instead of where, because China is a place, where is he from? The following slide,
Because
next
in the
slide.
yes/no question, we write the full sentence.
Yes.
Not like in the WH.
If we don't have an auxiliary, Miss Maha,
Yes, if we don't have an auxiliary, we add it. Like we have auxiliaries like do, does, or did. So this is used when there is no auxiliary, of course, or a modal. He lives in London. Here we don't have an auxiliary. So when we want to make a WH question, we use the WH word first. Where does he live? Because the verb in the main sentence has S
So
with
here,
he.
again,
But
we
if the
have a
question
missing.
is a yes-no question, we don't use the WH word. We say, does he live in London?
Thank you so much for saying this.
I
Thank
just want to thank Katya because she mentioned how far. Of course, we have so many question words, but we mentioned the most common,
Yes,
commonly
how
used.
far for distance?
How far for
Yes.
distance?
For
It's
distance.
correct. It's
Yeah.
correct.
How far is Damascus from Tartus, for example? How far to ask for distance?
Yes.
Miss Nasreen?
Yes, the WH question, to make the WH question, just put the question word in front of any yes-no question. So if you know how to use the yes-no question, so it is very easy to use the WH question. But to summarize, there is 4 main items for the WH question, which they are the
Question
WH word, the question word, the auxiliary,
Auxiliary.
the subject, the main verb. So you have to put them in this order all the time. Like we have this an yes/no question: is he coming? When we put it in the when we change it to WH question, we say when is he coming? So we start with the WH word, the auxiliary, subject, and the main verb.
Thank you. Next slide. Right questions, Ms.
Okay,
Sauda.
before we write question, I just need to summarize. If we want to form a question, look at the verb. If it's an auxiliary verb or a modal verb, invert. Put it before the subject.
And if
Thank
we
you.
don't have an auxiliary,
And if we don't have an auxiliary verb or a modal verb, we use do, does, or did. And
According
of
to the
course,
tense.
according to the tense. And of course, we have to pay attention that to change the verb into the infinitive form or the base form.
yes.
After that, we can delete or omit the answer and add a question word. So we have the form you've said, question word, auxiliary verb,
verb.
subject, and the rest of the sentence.
You mean by delete the answer, we delete the part we want to ask
To ask
about,
about
it.
not the whole answer.
Yes.
Of course.
The part we want to ask about. If it is a place, we
Where?
omit it and we put where. If it is time, we omit it and we
Here,
put
for
when.
example, we have examples. We can show how
Make
to
it
do that.
clear.
I went shopping last Friday. So here we have went. We don't have an auxiliary verb. So we have to use did. And I is changed into you. So did you go shopping last Friday? Now the answer is last Friday. We omit it and use where. So
When.
where?
When?
Oh, sorry, when? When did you go last Friday?
When did you go shopping?
Sorry.
When did
When
you,
did you
I mean,
go shopping?
I
yes.
was,
Okay.
I was
You have to,
where,
you have to,
where,
let
where
me-
did you
let
go?
me help
Yes.
you. Just relax.
Where did you go last
After we
Friday?
change it to yes, no question,
next
did
slide.
you go, and we use go because after did we use the auxiliary as you mentioned.
Yes.
Did you go shopping last Friday? We can ask about 2 things, either the action shopping or the time last Friday. If we want to ask about last Friday,
When?
we
We
omit
use
it
when.
and we say, when did you go shopping? If we want to ask about the action, we say, what did you do last Friday?
Yes.
Yes, now you can go for I
Okay,
bought a
thank-
new shirt.
I bought a new shirt again.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Did you buy a
How
new
much?
shirt?
How?
It cost a lot. Did you buy a new shirt? We again omit a new shirt and add what? What did you buy?
I just want to add something here. The answer starts with, the answer is I bought a new shirt. The student must write a WH question, not a yes/no question.
Of course.
When they write a yes/no question, the answer must start with
Yes
yes
or
or
no.
no. They have to pay attention to
Thank
this.
you so much for saying this. So when we don't have yes or no in the answer, you
So it
must
is a
write
WH
a
question.
WH word. But we are helping you to know how. I bought a new shirt. Did you buy a new shirt? Then we delete a new shirt and say, what did you
But
buy?
here, if they write it, it's not correct. يعني.
Yes.
I went 3.
Your turn, Ms.
Yes, the last one. I went with my mother. We can ask, who did you go with?
There is a question about irregular questions like what does your father do? What's the weather like? What does he look like? These are irregular questions. It means they are not based on the answer. Someone is asking about them.
Yeah, okay.
What do you do? What's the weather like?
So when we
And-
have an auxiliary or modal, most of the time the verb after them is in the infinitive or in the
Of course.
zero form.
It must be in the infinitive form. When did you go shopping? I went on Friday. What did you buy? This was the last slide.
Yes.
Can we, Ms. Sabrine, see the exam paper? Now, dear students, we're going to show you a sample exam paper. It's not from an imaginary situation, exam paper that passed before now, just to show you how the exam paper is going to be. Most of you, I know that you know it. You are going to see, like this, two texts in the first page, and we have questions about them. We have words that are underlined. You are going to be asked about the meaning.
Yes.
Students, Mr. Ola, if you want to say something, before they read the text, they need to read the
Read
questions.
the questions carefully, understand the questions, and then try to find the answers in the text. But pay attention to read the text. Some students make mistakes by not reading the text. They think that they know the text, they are familiar with the text, so there is no need. There might be some changes.
Yes.
So you have to read the text. So read the questions, make sure that you understand them, and then look for answers.
Yes.
I have advice now to tell them a piece of advice. If you don't know, don't read all the questions before you do the exam. Do the questions one by one. If you don't know the first one, do the second. Then you can come back to the first one when you finish the whole paper question. So if you read all the questions before you start answering, if you have a question that you don't know the answer to it, you will get confused, worried, and you may forget how to answer
the rest of the
questions you know already. So don't read the whole exam paper. Read step by step, question by question, and do it. The question that you don't know, leave it and go to the following question.
Exactly. If you don't know the answer, leave it till the end.
Ms. Sabrine, can you go down to see the questions? So the first question is choose the right answer.
We have
A, B,
multiple
or C.
answers.
This depends on the text. If the student knows the meaning of the vocabulary in the text, it is very easy to answer.
Of course.
Then we have another question. Go down, Ms. Sabrine.
Definitions.
Definitions.
They have three underlined words, and they have to choose two of them to suit the definitions.
Yes.
For the multiple choice, I would like to say that if they write the letter and the word, it's correct. If they write the word, it's correct. If they write only the letter, it's correct. But make sure not to write two answers.
To match the letter
Yes.
and the word.
And if they write the letter of the correct answer and the word which is not correct, they are going to be judged by considering the first. But
Yes.
if it is the opposite, they put the wrong letter, but the correct word, they will get 0 because the first answer is going to be considered.
Yes, and in numbers 4 and 5, try to write only the underlined word, not the whole sentence.
Yes, only the word.
And
Can
for
we
the
see
9
the
and
second
10,
part, Ms. Sabrine, again?
for 9 and 10, they have to, it's better to write a complete answer.
Yes.
Sometimes they write a short or only 1 or 2 words.
Before 9 and 10, we have 6, 7, 8.
True,
Yes.
false
It's
question.
true or
True,
false.
false question. They read the sentence and they check it in the text. If it is true, they put T. If it is false, they put F. Some students can put tick
Tick
or
or
cross.
cross.
It's okay, no problem. Just to show that they know that this
That
is
this is
true or
correct.
this is false.
Yes.
Then 9 and 10 answer the following. We need complete answer.
Yes.
What will happen to the iceberg when the temperature is high? They read the answer in the text and write
Full
it
answer.
completely. Can we see the second
We have a
page?
question by Katia again. She's asking about plural nouns, irregular plural nouns. Well, they are not in your book. You are not asked to write about them. We have a plenty of irregular nouns. I'm not sure if we can count them
If
now.
you mention them in your exam paper, then it's good.
Yeah.
They are not required in the
Yes.
book, so relax.
The second page of the exam papers, we have question letter C. It says, read the following sentences
correct
and choose the correct answer.
It
Here
can
we
be
have
grammar or vocabulary. this
Yeah.
one.
This is grammar or vocabulary, and they need to choose. So this is the way you are going to meet in the exam. The accident is a situation. Whose is used for position, which is used for situations or things.
Yes.
So the answer is going to be which. So
Which.
the student chooses which happened yesterday.
Choose
hurt
one
many
and
people.
write it next to its
Right,
number on the
number.
answer sheet.
12, again, they need to choose between too much, too many. We mentioned that too many for countable nouns,
Much
too much
uncountable.
for uncountable nouns.
Noise is
Noise is
uncountable.
uncountable. How can we know that it's uncountable?
Is.
The verb is
Yes.
say that it is uncountable, so it is too much. Too much.
Now
Like
conditional.
this. Question D, choose the correct answer.
They
We
have to pay attention that it's a dialogue, so you have to read the whole dialogue to be able to understand
Yes,
it.
because sometimes the first answer depend on the
Exactly.
in the question depend on the answer.
So
Or
the
the-
answer determines the question, the
Yes.
question word, or the thing we need to put in the missing place.
So it's a dialogue, just pay attention to that.
So in this dialogue, if we help them, because this is important, some students get confused,
Yes.
is going to visit you next July.
Okay, the answer is my relatives. My relatives are people.
People.
So I'm asking about people by who. Who is going to visit you
The
next
answer
year?
is who. Are you going to take them space, the museum? The museum is a place. Take
To.
to.
To the museum.
Amaha, no,
No,
because
because
they stay for a long
Stay
time.
is infinitive or base.
So before
because
it we use
They,
Want.
modal
Want.
verb.
Yes.
they want
Want. Because we can't use aren't because it's not staying.
staying.
We can't use haven't because it's not stayed. So the
It's
only
not verb
choice
three,
is
yes.
want.
Thank you.
Because after want we use the base form or infinitive.
Question E, write the missing words. Here it is functional. They are going to write
Here they
a
have
functional word.
to be careful and to think carefully. Even if they choose the correct word, they have to think again, think it
Yes.
twice. Make sure that your choice is correct.
Yes.
Rama doing a lot of exercise. Doing is verb ing.
So verb to be.
Verb to be is doing. Syria is rich in history, culture,
Culture,
two
two
nouns.
nouns.
History, culture. So
And.
And there isn't
Isn't.
sugar left in the jar.
This is negative.
Yes.
And we
So
have
any.
an uncountable noun, so
Enough.
it's any.
So it is
And we can say there
Any
isn't
or
any
enough.
or enough or much. We
Yes.
can put much, enough or any.
yes.
Now here the matching, we have 4 answers, and can we see it please? 22, 23, 24, 25, what 4 beginnings, and
5
we have
choices.
5 endings. But only one goes with each. We have the extra one
have
that
extra
cannot
one.
go with
With
any
anything.
of
Yeah.
them.
Them.
I wish I had more free time too. To is the beginning of an infinitive, so we need to find something that it is an infinitive
Verb.
verb.
To
Stored
start
is not
learning.
infinitive, so it's not accepted. She is a pronoun, it's not accepted. They, it's a pronoun. Start is an
Learn.
infinitive. You is a pronoun, so the correct answer is start, to start learning.
Sometimes the pronoun may help with deciding how the sentence may finish.
Yes. So the student can read the first part
And
and
each
try
one.
one by one
Exactly.
to see which one is the
right.
suitable
Sometimes
one.
they decide on one of the endings, and then when they read other sentences, they know the difference. That this one better goes with this one, and
So they can do this on the draft first, then they can do it on the post for the answer. Can we go up, Ms. Sabrin, to see the following
now
question?
this is the tenses, and we've given examples
Yes.
about the tenses.
Dana would be or will be happy if she passed. Past is simple past.
It is like the examples which we did in our.
So it should
they
be would
are
be.
tenses.
Would be. 27, a tourist asked me about directions while. Asked me simple past while. Usually after while we use continuous tense.
Yes.
While I have been shopping or I was shopping, since the beginning is past, the present is not accepted. I was shopping.
And we have yesterday at the end, so we can't
it
use
is
the present.
past.
He moved or has moved to Canada when he was 5.
When he was 5,
Was
It's simple
past.
past, so moved. I prepared or I have prepared for tomorrow party since
Since.
last
So
week.
perfect.
Since is present perfect. So have prepared. 30, my mother cooks or is cooking
At the
dinner
moment,
at
so-
the moment.
so
At the
continuous.
moment is a keyword for the continuous. Here we have a dialogue again. But here it's not only one word, it's a whole question as we explain
Again,
in the
dialogue.
grammar. The student needs to read
The
the
whole-
answer. Journalists write articles for newspapers. We have many questions here accepted. Who are journalists, or what do
Journalists do.
or what do
What-
journalists
what-
write? So we can make it yes/no question first if we are not sure. Do journalists write articles for newspapers? Here we can delete articles
Articles,
and we
add
put
what?
We can use for newspapers or
Who?
who do journalists write articles for?
For.
The following answer
Where?
determines
This is
the
clear. Where?
question. They work in offices. Do they work in offices? We delete offices and we say where do they work? And the last one, they spend about 8 hours. 8
This
hours
is a period of time, so how long?
How long do they spend working a day? Then we have second part. They have
Answer.
the
They
question.
have to answer
they
the
have
question.
to write the answer, but we assure them here, we focus that they need to write a sentence. At least 3 words containing a subject and a verb. They need to write a subject and not only 1 word.
Yes.
If it is what's your favorite sport, it's not enough to say
Football.
football. It's better to say my
My
favorite
favorite
sport
sport is-
is.
Or I play
Football.
football.
How often? We've just mentioned about how often.
Even if sometimes it is accepted, but it's better to write.
Risky. It's
Complete
risky.
Yeah, it's
answer.
risky.
And these 2 questions, the students have to answer them from their
His own
information.
experience,
so the
as a
answers
personal
vary.
experience.
Answers vary, but they need to follow the tense.
Yes.
So if it is in the present, they cannot answer in the past.
Yes. Pay attention to the tense.
The last question is about the composition.
They have to choose.
They have 2 choices. They don't need to write 2
2
paragraphs.
of them.
One is enough.
Only 1 composition. Here we have 2 topics, 5
Quality.
qualities you think are important.
This is
in a
not
good
for
friend.
this year.
Yes, of course, this is for not.
No,
this
I
year.
mean this year. This one is omitted from the last 2
Yes.
units.
And a healthy diary for a week. They are going to have 2 choices. They are going to choose 1 paragraph, 1 composition only. And I can tell them that they are going to be judged according to 5 categories. Task response,
Vocabulary,
vocabulary,
grammar,
grammar,
punctuation,
punctuation,
Spelling.
and spelling.
spelling.
If the composition is correct, they take the mark for task response, which is 10 marks. Vocabulary, if they write correct vocabulary, they take 10 marks. Spelling, punctuation, if they use full stops, commas, question words, they took the 10 marks for the punctuation. Then we come to spelling and grammar. If they have mistakes, they lose for every, I think they have the first 2 overlooked, then they will miss a mark for every grammar mistake or a spelling mistake. But if they have more than 10 mistakes, they are not going to use more than 10 marks for the spelling and no more than 10 marks for the grammar. So write, feel relaxed, write what you know, and you will get marks whatever you write. You are not going to lose marks if you write something that gives sense. At the end, I want your pieces of advice. We start with Ms. Saula.
Okay, just relax. I think they should now read the text. Read if they have to practice the paragraphs. And for the exam, you need to get enough sleep. You have to pay attention to get enough sleep and relax in the exam. I think things are going to be much easier than they think. Everything is going to be clear and
Yes.
be neat while writing on the paper.
Thank you so much, Ms. Maha.
Yes, feel comfortable, pay attention to the numbering, make sure that you don't write more than 1 answer. Good luck.
Just before we finish, because sorry, But about written, or I'm not sure about the name. She's
Written
asking about the difference between when and as soon as. They are almost the same, I think.
They are nearly the same. They can say when or as soon as with similar meaning, but we use these words with simple present to show that something is
Future.
going to happen in the future. And they are not going to choose between
No,
when
of
and
course
as
Yes,
soon
not.
because
as
they
for
are
the
too
exam.
similar.
They are very similar.
My
Ms.
advice?
Nasreen, your advice?
During the exam, keep calm, don't get nervous, and very important thing is to manage your time. And when you finish your answers, make sure about what you write.
So
and good luck.
reread what you have written to make sure
Make
that...
sure they match the correct number. Pay attention to that, the correct number.
Yeah,
Yes.
sometimes they make a mistake. Say they write the answer to the question next to the following
Another-
number,
And
and
the
in
whole
this way
paper-
the whole paper goes wrong.
Or
so
some
make sure...
students, they delete the numbers and they write their own numbers. I don't know why.
If it is the correct number, it's no problem, but make sure that you write the same number for the same answer,
Yes.
so that you don't lose marks. At the end, allow me to thank my colleagues in the studio, Ms. Ula Al-Moui, English Language Supervisor,
Thank
Tartus
you.
Directorate. Thank you so much. Ms. Maha Al-Jarkis, English Language Teacher, Damascus Directorate.
Thank you.
So much. Ms. Tasreen Saqbani, English Language Teacher, Damascus Directorate. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
you.
And I want to thank the directors of this session, Ms. Samahir Al-Yusuf and Ms. Sabreen Al-Wais. I also want to thank Mr. Mahmoud Hamid, the director of the platform. And I want to thank the one who established the platform, Dr. Darim Tabba, and the brave minister, Mr. Imad Al-Azab. This is me, Abdul Majid Ogorli, Senior Supervisor and Coordinator of English Curriculum. We hope you do well in your exam. Thank you so much for being with us. We hope we were beneficial. Thank you.